Rewind, if you will. 1977 has passed. You've gone and seen the greatest movie to ever happen to cinema. And here we go again. Ready for another romp of just good-hearted, light fun and laser swords and mysticism. And oh my god, it got dark real fast.
The heroes are losing.
Oh god, no, this didn't turn out well for pretty much anyone. Welcome to Empire Strikes Back. After the hype, with me as always is Chewy Darso.
Hi.
And Jonathan Harsey.
Oh yeah, it goes pretty dark.
It really does, real quick.
Yeah. I mean, the saddest part is when Vader, for the first time in his life, experiences the "Leave me alone, Dad."
I think it's when he goes, "Ow, my hand! You had to shoot me in the palm, dick."
Clean your room, son. Oh, no, peace.
You'd be the worst dad. Okay. So, hopefully you all enjoyed our episode last week on A New Hope. I know it was a ton of fun to record. Again, big thanks to Emily for coming back on. This episode this week will be kind of the same. We're going to probably talk a little bit more about the movie just because it is fucking Empire. It's like the number one answer to most geeks. What's your favorite movie of all time? Empire Strikes Back. There's a reason. It is that good. And so we'll have to talk a little bit about it. But it's going to be kind of like last week. It's more about our feelings on the movie because it's been covered to death. If you want to hear how Empire happened, there's a billion podcasts, a trillion books, and God knows how many TV specials.
Q&As.
It's out there. So I like...
Lectures.
There's probably a TED Talk or two. Who knows?
Yeah, there's college courses. I mean, it's...
Yeah. It's out there. Like, and they all know it better than we do, and they can cover it better than we do.
It all happened a long time ago.
In a galaxy...
University.
Far,
far away.
Or rather close if it's USC.
Depends.
Depends on where you're at. Boy. So, again, we'll kind of treat it the same way we did last week, and probably throughout most of these movies, of just kind of how we feel about it, and how we came about, and that sort of stuff. And we'll get started rather quick, actually, because this week, I think I'm just going to skip What Have You Been Doing. Is that cool with everybody?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, I would just talk about me making you watch Graham.
I mean, I would just be talking about going to see Terminator Dark Fate and then not seeing it because the fucking fire alarm was going off.
It was not part of your fate to see that movie that night.
I was so fucking mad.
Oh, boy.
Fuck Burbank AMC 16. I've said it publicly. I fucking hate that theater. Never had a good experience.
I saw the first, 4 words of your Facebook post. And I was like, I bet his theater experience sucked.
Yep.
And sure enough, it was right.
Didn't even get in the front door. Boo!
Still not as good as the one time I tried to go to Goodwill, and then they said, you can't come in, someone donated a grenade. And they had to wait for the freaking bomb squad to come to make sure it wasn't a real grenade.
Well, I don't need it anymore. I bet somebody wants this.
Yeah, I bet someone could make use of it.
It was not active.
Well, that's good.
But they'd had to call
25 cents.
That's amazing.
I was so confused. I'm just standing outside the door going, should I stay?
Should I stay or should I go now?
I feel like there's a story.
I did not have that response at AMC. I just stood there, stared the employee dead in the eye, looked at my phone, returned my ticket, and walked home. Because that's the proper response. But anyhow, Empire. Last week I did A New Hope. Chewy next week will be doing Return of the Jedi because that's her favorite of the OT. So, John, you're up this week. Can you do the fastest of fast recaps of what happens in Empire?
All right. The rebels are getting their ass handed to them. The Empire's chasing them. They find them at Hoth and proceed to slap them 4 ways to Sunday. And Han and Leia make their escape to try and find Lando, whoever he is, and Luke goes off to get training from Yoda.
Dagobah.
And to Dagobah, yeah. He crashes and meets a little green guy and is by himself for a while with creatures in the woods. And Han and Leia get betrayed by Lando and get captured by Darth Vader, and Han gets frozen in carbonite, and Luke comes back, falls for the trap, gets his hand cut off, and learns that Darth Vader is his dad. And yeah, they go back to the Rebel medical fleet with their tails between their legs and plans for the next sequel.
Yeah, they get smacked pretty good. For those of you who are unaware, I mean, it's kind of interesting. Like, this is kind of where I want to start with the movie. is we grew up, obviously Chewie, if you listened last week, didn't see these till they're in the theaters for the re-release. We saw them as kids, but we always saw them as a trilogy. Like, we never had to wait for Jedi. And for a lot of people, this was a hell of a cliffhanger.
Oh my God!
No one knows what happened to Han. Yoda dropped that huge nugget of news of there is another, and it's like, what the fuck is going on with? When's the next one come out? Not soon. Great.
3 years.
3 years.
3 years.
That's a long time to going. I bet it's Leia who's the other. I think it's Chewbacca. I don't know who the prevailing theory was at the time. I'm guessing it was Leia. There was no internet, so there's nobody to just like geek over the whole time. But there was like I've seen the TV special where they had like the producer of the movie come out and he's like, the next picture is going to be the best picture. We're going to answer all of your questions. We will answer who is the other. I know you all want to know. That will be answered. So like it was a big deal, and we just, as the generation that came out like, or that were born like 3 years after the last one came out, or like the same year the last one came out, we missed it. So it's kind of interesting not being a part of that fanfare and then just knowing for a fact like, I'm just going to keep watching. Oh, yeah, Leia is the other.
Yep.
Duh.
Yeah.
Yeah, and more often than not, like, we don't have a situation in which we're like, oh, shit, we won't find out what happens for a long time. That just doesn't exist in this age anymore because everything's so fast.
Yeah. I mean, even if there are cliffhangers, usually the movie is being shot at the same time as the one you're watching. You're going to get it in 6 months to a year. So, like, those cliffhangers don't really happen. And then a lot of times they've just given up on them. Like, there's no cliffhanger at the end of Last Jedi. It's just kind of like, the cliffhanger is, will they survive? Yeah, probably.
Yeah. And then like a lot of these companies have their like, here's our slate of movies, and you're like, wait, Spider-Man was dusted, but you have a Spider-Man movie coming out. What's going on? Like you have those situations.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, probably. So we just don't have cliffhangers where we're in the dark for a long stretch of time.
Yeah, and like there's a part of me that wishes I could go back and like see this in theaters with everybody, because I think by the time I saw it when I was a kid, I'm sure we'd heard the jokes of like, Luke, I am your father, which, yes, we know that's not the right line, but that's what we all say. So we knew it. Like, it wasn't a shock. It's just kind of like, yeah, this is the blow by blow. This is what happens. So it's kind of an interesting take. I still love the movie. Like, everyone still does. John even made the joke before we started recording. It is the best Star Wars film. So there is something to be said about that. Like, without having that air of like mystery and intrigue and that weight, the movie still works damn near flawless, and that is just beyond impressive.
Yeah, no, it's the one I'm the most excited to watch when I come back and watch these over again. And it's like, okay, get through Star Wars: A New Hope. That I like that one. That was really fun. But I'm really here for The Empire Strikes Back. Like, that's the one I'm pinpointing in any of these rewatches.
It's interesting because Chewie and I were talking about a little bit as we were watching it tonight, because we had to watch the back half tonight because last night Terminator happened. I'm not bitter about it at all. It's fine. But we were talking about it, and it's like I know her favorite movie is Jedi. We'll get into that more next week. But there is something like, no matter how cohesive and wonderful of a movie I think this is, I think the highs could be higher in the two movies surrounding it. But as far as like just a cohesive one movie, this is the best one. But like there's huge moments in it, don't get me wrong, but there's no moments in it like Chewie will explain it better next week, but there's a moment at the end of Jedi that is more emotional and more impactful than anything in this movie. And there's moments in A New Hope that are stronger. But as a one-off, I think this is the strongest film. I think everything works the best.
I mean, it's the tightest film.
Yeah.
But it had the freedom the other ones didn't have. The first movie's establishing everything, introducing everybody. And the last movie's being like, all right, cool. This is the arc. This is the end. We're going to finish it now. Yeah. Like, so Empire has the joy of being like, cool, I'm the meat. I can go many directions. I don't have to be cute or nice or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, its only job is to divert from the first one and throw things off, to bring an element of chaos and suspense, whereas the last one has just the responsibility of just bringing it all together. It has the not so fun job of tying it all together, whereas
it's a fun job.
Oh, it's definitely a fun job.
I mean,
but relatively speaking, I mean,
it's the hero's journey, and then in the middle of a hero's journey, the hero has to get shot a couple times.
Well, and the thing that I love the most about say, this one compared to, say, A New Hope, is A New Hope, we mentioned last week, it kind of feels like a very full of just archetypes of the characters we've seen before, stories we've seen before, but just told with this sci-fi coat of paint that just made it that much better. And this is for me where Star Wars really just fully comes alive into everything we know and love that is Star Wars, because it leaves a lot of those archetypes behind and just starts being its own thing. Not entirely, like that's not.
Yeah, the archetypes are still there.
They're still there, but like she's still a princess, but she's no longer the princess in a castle. Now she's a working general in an army.
Yeah.
The roles start shifting a little bit. The handsome rogue is no longer just the best friend. Now he's just a guy with now they all have like their jobs and they're starting to slide into their actual roles. And this is what we start to know and think about when we think of Star Wars. And I think that's why people attach to Empire so much over, say, A New Hope, because this is when that Star Wars, when we think about it, really comes to life.
And it really works to like recontextualize all the characters' relationships. Like the triumphant ending where they're all together at the end of A New Hope. Suddenly, now they're splintered. Luke is by himself for most of the movie. Han and Leia are trying, like, they're in a different relationship setup. It's them and the droids. Like, it jumbles it around in such an interesting way.
You keep saying by himself. He is with Yoda the whole time.
He's with R2 the whole time.
R2 and Yoda. Like, he's definitely not by himself. R2 really becomes a full-fledged character in this movie, and then Yoda is one of the most famous characters in sci-fi history.
Yeah, no, I'm getting tripped up by the like as I'm reading behind the scenes for it, where Mark Hamill was by himself on a set with puppets, and it was hard to hear.
Well,
and
Kenny Baker was
like,
there.
Oh, boo-hoo. At least they existed. You're not just on a green screen.
Yeah, he's not Ian McKellen just sobbing, going, "I should have said no to being in The Hobbit. What the fuck was I thinking?" But no, like that's like Kenny Baker is still in the suit the whole time.
Yeah.
Everybody forgets about poor little Kenny Baker.
Well, because he's R2. You don't get to see his face.
That's true.
He really disappears in the role.
Like Darth Vader.
Oh God, we have another nugget of joy on the Darth Vader front we looked up for next week. Whew, that poor guy.
Still alive.
Oh man,
still alive. I'm guessing rather bitter. Rightfully so. But I kind of want to talk a little bit about the whole Dagobah stuff, because for some reason, when they released these movies in that VHS box set that most of us bought, the black one that came out and had like the faces, that had like Darth Vader on A New Hope, had a Stormtrooper on Empire, and had Yoda on Return of the Jedi.
Right.
It really imprinted in a lot of, say, my friends' heads, like, oh, Jedi's the one with all the Yoda stuff. It's like, why would you put Yoda on the box of the third one and not the second one? Because the main heart of this movie is with Yoda on Dagobah.
That is a weird distinction that they put on the box.
Because he died in Jedi, so it's like an epitaph.
I guess.
I don't know.
It's a weird choice. Like,
or you're going from meh to ooh to you're the best.
Sure.
If meh is a stormtrooper, ooh, is Darth Vader.
But Darth Vader's a
You're
New
the
Hope.
best. Oh, he is?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you said it was a stormtrooper.
Yeah.
Stormtrooper is
Jedi.
Jedi.
All right.
Yeah,
Empire.
and it's weird to make the stormtrooper for Empire Strikes Back, because it was like a stormtrooper.
Yeah, at least put Boba Fett.
Boba Fett
Yeah.
has a jet. What's the line?
Boba Fett has a slave one?
What's the
I honestly don't remember.
The rap song.
I don't know. There's so many Star Wars raps, and there's one.
Oh,
in
my
particular
Boba's got fets, or something like that.
I don't remember exactly.
My backpack's a
Oh,
jet.
backpack's got jets. I'm Boba
My
the
backpack's
Fett.
got jet,
There it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I
Took
was
me a
trying to
minute.
do.
I just always keep thinking of the your father, your father, your father, your father.
So much music.
Luke, use the Force and run to Dagobah.
I think
run to
the
Dagobah.
time when I went, okay, this is a little too much for me, was when they did a Star Wars version of the Gaudier song.
The Someone I Used to Know? That
Yeah, Someone I Used to Know. They
Oh,
did it
jeez.
where Han was singing. I'm like, oh, this is too much.
Can it ever be too much?
Yes, it can be too much.
Well, especially because the two best Star Wars parody songs have already been written. They've been written by Weird Al, and they're perfect.
Yeah.
Anyhow, so Empire. I How do you guys feel about that? Because like there is something to be said about how the movie really has not pacing issues, because the pacing is great, but it seems to be sprinting and walking kind of at the same time. Like the Han and Leia stuff is just a full-blown sprint from Hoth all the way to the end of the movie. And Luke's right there with him until he's not. And he really just slams on the brakes with Yoda. And then you just get nothing but forced lore and training and stuff that you can really sink your teeth into. But it really does play at odds with the rest of the film.
It's your breathing moments. I mean, that's how I will explain them, I guess.
Sure.
I mean, you can't have them both on the same level, running away from different things in different places, because then you're like Transformers. And then I just tune out.
Last Jedi did that.
That's part of the weaker parts of Last Jedi. The stupid,
Right.
I'm not Tauntauns on the gambling planet. See, that you've lifted that out of the movie, and
It's
it
a better
affects
movie.
nothing.
It's a much better movie.
And-
It does affect a lot of things. It makes it a better movie.
It makes it a better movie. I love Rose. I don't like her monologue about class systems.
No. Still, why are there no fucking huts in that goddamn casino?
Or any other, like, Twi'leks or anything. Like, there's so many, whatever.
Grumble, grumble.
Let's
Grumble,
not
grumble.
go down
We are getting
that route.
distracted.
But yeah. Shit. Empire Strikes Back. Because you need to have, like, it's one of the reasons that this movie works so well is because you have the different level of emotions. You have the sense of danger and excitement with the running away from the Empire, and then you have the allure and mysticism of the Force with Yoda.
Yeah.
You're touching on different things that get people excited. War and spirituality.
But this is where I'm just trying to be that guy right now, so I apologize up front, but I will be kind of digging at the movie a little bit. I know the movie's flawless, but allow me just a little bit. So because of that, slamming on the brakes and having that moment of lore and fantasy and learning about the Force and spending the time with Luke, and you're really going slower. But when you're with Han and Leia, you are bam, 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 bam. You're on Hoth, you're in a worm belly, you're on your way to Cloud City, you're being kidnapped by Darth Vader, you're being frozen, and you're running away. Seems like it happens in a few days. Maybe. Like,
Yeah.
that's stretching it as long as I logistically can.
Yeah, you can't think about the time frame.
Exactly. The time gets really wonky. Of like,
Because then
wait,
I have to think about the diapers that Luke has to wear in the X-Wing.
Yeah, that's the
seriously-
one that gets me.
Yeah, but seriously, like, so
I'm
how
kidding.
long did Luke train with Yoda? Did he just show up, go for one jog in the woods, fight himself as a ghost, and then fuck off? Because in that case, then Yoda's really right of like, yeah, you shouldn't leave. Like, what the? That was a waste of an afternoon.
Well, that's as I've watched this multiple times over the years, I've gone back and forth on that because in the early days when I've watched it, it's like, oh, he's been there for a long time. Like, he's trained enough. I kind of felt like Luke was like, he's got enough. What else can you do? Go. You spent years here. But now I'm just like, man, Luke, you have not trained enough. Stay. Just, it's a trap. Learn, get better. Like, I've gone so far the other way. It's like, take that time. These, like, Han and Leia are doing their breakneck pace. They're getting captured already. They're going to get uncaptured and captured again. Just give them some time.
It is just kind of interesting, like, because for a movie that
It doesn't bother me.
it doesn't bother me either when I'm watching it, but for a movie that is largely regarded as flawless or near flawless, that is a big glaring issue of like the time does not work.
But
It just doesn't.
they just never talk about how long people are in hyperspace.
No.
They gloss over it.
But even if
It's in a It's in a
Hypers-
1970s
I'm not even
screen
talking.
swipe.
I swear we'll be over this in a minute. I'm not even talking about the time travel aspect of it. I'm talking about time spent in Cloud City and on Dagobah. If it's even remotely relative, he did not spend enough time training.
Well, no,
Yoda was right.
Yeah, Yoda was right. Of course.
But of course he's right. He's voiced by Frank Oz, and Frank Oz is always right.
And he's Yoda.
He's Yoda and Miss Piggy and thousands of other people. Frank Oz is
Although I
the
will
best.
say, out of all the Star Wars movies that get a little bit funky with that time and relativity, this one I end up not minding at all. Like I keep like it's something where our discussion reminds me like, oh, there is some time issues here, because I just put it back. Like, it doesn't matter to me as much. Whereas when we get to some other movies, like especially in the newer trilogies, it's like, oh, that's really fast, and I dwell on that. Whereas here, it's like, oh, they are doing that because you reminded me in this episode, sort of thing.
But that's the thing, is it speaks to the quality of the filmmaking, the writing, the editing, all of it, that we can watch it and never, ever have a problem with it until I'm on a podcast and I feel like I have to try to take some sort of a shot at the movie. That, like, when you watch Force Awakens, you're like, why the fuck is this all happening so fast? Like, you immediately notice it.
You notice it most in Last Jedi because they actually give you a timetable.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
With the ships and how much fuel they have. That was one of the biggest mistakes in that movie.
Yeah.
By giving them an actual timetable, then you're like, well, how long was Rey with Luke?
Yeah.
Not long, like literally an afternoon.
Yeah. Oh, it's even worse. No, you're not wrong. Like, so I think it is definitely a lesson that both Abrams and Johnson definitely should have learned, and I hope Abrams learned before the third one. But if you're a fan of the internet at all, you're finding out, Skywalker might be in a bit of trouble. Hoping the internet leaks are just a bunch of bullshit, because otherwise, ooh.
Hey, dude, I'm just saying, if this is the one where JJ's gonna surprise me, I'm all for it.
Honestly, as long as it's not everything I expect, I'll be at least a little happy. Yeah. But Empire. So if that's kind of the Yoda of it all, the Dagobah of it all, we got to talk a little bit about Yoda, because Yoda is one of those characters that, if you've never even seen Star Wars, you know who Yoda is. Yoda is he just blew into the pop culture scene like a fucking meteor from outer space, and just crater. Everyone knows who he is. And that's a very difficult thing to do.
Because he has everything you want. He's old and silly, but wise and knowledgeable, and he's cute because he's short, and he's got hair on his ears.
He's got a cute little butt when he's digging in that little trunk.
And he's green, and...
But it's not easy being green.
And he's totally... and he's just the mentor you all wish you had.
Yeah.
I remember when I first saw Yoda appear, and the puppet work blew me away. Because I've seen other stuff like, Sesame Street, Muppets. I've seen a lot of other puppetry, and that's fine. They're good in their own way, but Yoda was so lifelike. And it's like, I know he's a puppet. I know enough about filmmaking. Like, it's a puppet. There's a guy in there, but you lose it. You lose that. He's real when you're watching it in the movie.
Oh yeah, he is a fully fledged character, and it's one of those things where the puppet was so good. Frank Oz is so incredibly great as Yoda, and then on top of that, like, it's just hats off to Mark Hamill. Because if you didn't believe Mark Hamill and Yoda having these conversations, talking to each other, literally being like a mentor-mentee relationship, the whole thing falls apart. Like, Frank Oz could be giving the best puppet performance of his career, which he might have done. But it doesn't count for shit if the human part doesn't. It's like the Bob Hoskins problem with Roger Rabbit. If you don't believe Bob Hoskins and Roger Rabbit, the movie doesn't work. This is the exact same thing. You needed to believe that he was talking to Yoda, not to a puppet or to a guy on a soundstage or to a guy reading lines from a book a mile away. Like, you had to buy it, and I think Mark Hamill crushes it.
Well, and that's why it's funny when we talked about last week A New Hope, and it was like Tashi Station and the whiny Luke, and just how there was all these things of a much fresher actor and someone who, is cheesy. But here you can now, looking back, it's like, oh, it makes sense that Mark Hamill has gone on to do so many other things and has become iconic, like the iconic Joker. Yeah. He's been able to transcend to such great and iconic roles, and this is here. That Empire Strikes Back for me is like that beginning of that. It's like, yeah, he acted against a puppet, and it wasn't weird. You believed it.
No, and like, just the range of emotion he has throughout the movie, and just like whatever scene he's in, like, he is great throughout. Like, you buy him in the beginning in Hoth, you buy him joking around with Han, you buy him at the end of the movie facing off against his dad to the death in his mind. Like, and he nails every scene. It is just so damn impressive. Like, I made the joke last week about Mark Hamill not being that great of an actor, like you said, and it's like, no, he wasn't in A New Hope. He was serviceable in A New Hope, and he had some great moments. He became a great actor in between the two movies, though, for sure.
Oh. Almost dying can do things to you.
Yeah. Yeah, if you did not know, there is a whole story added to this movie to make up for Mark Hamill having broken his face in a car accident.
He almost died.
He almost died.
Those Wampa scars, oh, those are real.
Yeah. That's car scars.
Car scars.
We almost lost Luke.
Yeah, they talked about recasting.
Yeah, it would have been horrible.
Yeah.
Do you know who they're going to recast?
I don't remember.
No, I don't know.
I don't think they got that far into it.
Okay.
But
I mean, I'm sure there was a name out there, just whether or not it was made public.
Yeah.
But yeah. Let's talk a little bit about
color palette.
Go for it.
It's one of the reasons why the original trilogy is as good as it is. Each movie has its own color palette. Because A New Hope was all like rust, sand, white, gold, beige, and black. Freaking Empire. It's purple, it's blue, it's red, it's white. And just like all in that.
Mm-hmm.
So like wrapped up. There's so much purple in this movie. That just... There's not very many movies, let alone action movies, that embrace that tonality and make it work atmospherically. No. And the other things I love is like just with the way that they use the color, like especially on Leia, to portray her emotional states. And it's great for Carrie Fisher that she was a wonderful enough of an actress to be like, all right, I don't need to look great in every shot. Because there's plenty of times where there's just harsh shadows on her and harsh colors. But they work to show you how she's feeling and how dangerous the situation is.
Well, and that kind of leans into what I said earlier about her leaving the whole princess persona behind and becoming much more soldier. And that's way more apparent in this movie. Like, they even go to like the...
It's one of the few times in science fiction, let alone any other movie, where a woman is in the middle of a circle of men and giving them instructions to go into battle.
Yeah. But I was going to say, like, when they're in the Millennium Falcon, when they're in the worm belly, and she's just going to work. She's like, we need to get out of here. And she's just in the rafters trying to fix shit. And Han's the one who comes up and tries to distract her. She's in the middle of doing shit.
Well, that's typical of, you know.
You're going to say men, weren't you?
Yes. Hey, the woman's like, we have a lot of work to do. The men's like, but we could fuck. No, we got work to do. But we could. No.
We're in a giant worm on a big ship. We could fuck.
Just saying, it's an option. Just as long as did you shut off 3PO? Sir. Ah, fuck it. Never mind. We're not having sex.
So the odds of disease are 395 to 1.
Oh, never tell me the odds. It's another thing that I haven't mentioned yet. I know I mentioned last week how much I love him. But 3PO is so good in this movie.
3PO is such a jerk in this movie.
He is...
Just shut up, 3PO. Nobody wants to know how likely it is that they're going to die.
Anthony Daniels is peak bitch 3PO in Empire. And I think that's probably why I love him as much as I do. Just throughout the whole thing. Like, they're trying to run away from the TIE fighters at the end of the movie. And R2's like, oh, I can fix it. Here, just chill. Hold onto your leg. I'll put you together in a moment. I'm going to go turn on the hyperdrive. And he's like, you don't know how to fix the hyperdrive. Get back here and fix me. Chewbacca will fix it. Ah! It's just like... He's just such a bitch. I love him.
He is a bitch.
Oh, and I love
him
his...
so much.
I love his interruption of the most romantic moment in the Star Wars movies. Like, I love that he comes in and interrupts it.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's peak C-3PO. And I think I remember him the most as a character. Even though the droids set up the whole thing with A New Hope, like, C-3PO really stands out here.
Oh, but he always stands out, at least in the original
Because you
trilogy.
can understand what he's saying, for one thing.
Well, R2's great. Like, don't get me wrong,
R2's
I
great,
love
but everyone
R2,
has to translate anime style for what he says.
Yeah.
Well, because it would make this movie rated R if you heard R2 speak.
Yeah, everyone always kind of assumes R2 just has a ferociously foul mouth. You don't really know that for sure, or just is C-3PO just that easily offended?
He's totally that easily offended.
It's like R2 like, eat dirt. And he's like, oh, how dare you?
He's probably just like, yeah, eat my shorts. Oh my gosh.
Like, if 3PO had a pearl necklace to clutch, he would never let go. Oh, man. So, this movie also became famous for giving us a brand new character. One that we all know and love. The one, the only, Billy D. Williams. Finally coming back in the next Skywalker movie. Very excited to see him.
Lando.
Lando. Oh.
Lando, damn.
I mean, you could fuck in a falcon, or you could fuck in some clouds.
Why not?
As long as he's got
Fly the
that
Falcon
cape,
in the
all right?
clouds.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be Lando's way. So here's the question, though. Now, living in 2019, as we are, or 2020 if you're listening this future, or 2021 if you're listening this way in the future, who knows? But in the future, where we are now, do you think that when Disney made Solo, at the end of Solo, when Han shows up, plays the game of cards, gets the Falcon, and leaves, is that the last time they see each other until Empire?
I think so.
No. I say no.
I think it's what Disney thinks is the case.
Well,
That's where I'm at. I think
go right ahead and think that, Disney. But if we're establishing them as being actually like good friends,
you didn't do that with Solo.
you did not do that with Solo. Not even close. They were guys in a situation in Solo.
By the end of Solo, I would totally go siding with Lando. Fuck Han. Like, he didn't really do anything to help Lando out. Like,
Not
he
really.
kind of ruined his life.
He did.
And
he ruined
fucked
his
up
ship. He
Like,
killed his robot girlfriend.
yeah, like...
And just all that.
Yeah.
Sure, I buy at the end that they meet again at a Sabak game and become friends after that and
Sure.
go on adventures together.
Yeah.
But to say that line is the last time they see each other until Empire is just like, dude, no. The guy would just hand Han over immediately to save his city.
Oh, yeah.
Which he does.
Not immediately. He still goes through a little like
He's conflicted.
thing.
He is
He's
conflicted. Yeah.
But no, if he's supposed to transition to this responsible governor of a city, no, this dude that he went on one mission once where he took his ship, he's not gonna hide him at all. He's not gonna do him any favors.
And did the Kessel Run for no one to see.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'll stop bitching about Solo at some point in my life.
But it's not this day.
But it's not this day. No, I agree with both of you. I think that it's absolutely what Disney wants us to think, and I think they totally with the end of Solo, the way that like they do that. You got a lot of nerve, and they have the exact same sort of greeting that they have at the end of this one or at the beginning of this one. I think that's what they were going for. I think it's a horrible plan, and it does not at all explain the relationship that they clearly have in this movie. So, if that's what you're going for, nope. Yet another
Because
problem
I mean,
with Solo.
There's a whole TV series worth of shenanigans, possibly 4 or 5 seasons worth, before they get to Empire Strikes Back. Easily.
I mean, I'd be totally fine with them just going on one other mission that they chose to go on. Like, just one was like, all right, I got this smuggling run. I know I can get it done if I go call fucking Lando.
And
I
then
know it'll work.
Actually become friends.
Yeah, like if they chose to be together just once,
Yeah.
I would buy this relationship now. But I think there's got to be one thing in between.
Yeah. Because for me, after Solo, it's like when I work on a movie with some people. And while I'm on that movie, we might seem like best friends. But the moment that movie's done, hashtag that job or whatever in Solo, we'll every now and then we might be like, yeah, we should get lunch. Years go by.
Yeah. You'll be friends again if you end up on the same movie again.
Yeah, if you end up on the same movie again. But if I ever meet them in a survival situation, no, I don't have their back.
Yeah.
No, you're handing them over to the Empire for carbonite.
Oh, Darth Vader is here? Fucking Darth Vader? Yeah, you can take him. Are you going to take the girl in the Wookiee too? That's kind of unfortunate.
I just met them. I thought she was cute, but
she's super cute, and you know it always helps to have a Wookiee around. But at the same time, I'd rather keep my city.
I have an entire production company that I'm responsible for.
Yeah.
I'm not sacrificing all these people I worked with for years.
I'll tell you what.
Yeah, sure. I'll hand them over to Disney. Whatever.
Yeah, you take them. I keep Lobot. I'll see you later.
Lobot is a really good.
He is.
Co-worker.
All that said, and all that aside, I fucking love Billy Dee Williams in this movie. Like, it is just like
great.
It's a movie that's just like it's already like packed to the gills with just perfect awesomeness, and then Billy Dee Williams comes in. It's like, how can you steal this show? This show is so awesome. How can you be one of the best things in it?
He's got a great smile.
He's got a great smile.
He's got a cape.
Every line is delivered at perfection. He's just such a good fucking actor. Like, there's just so much to say just about that. Like, everyone else is great. Don't get me wrong, but Billy D is just perfect in this movie.
He really is.
And I love him in Return of the Jedi. Don't get me wrong, but it's nothing compared to him in Empire.
He doesn't really have that much to do in Return of the Jedi.
No, he's mostly just there because he was in this one.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, throughout this movie, like, you buy that confliction. Like, you buy when he's like you said they'd be able to stay here in the clouds with me. I altered the deal. Pray I don't alter it any further. Like, you can see that I fucked up. Like, without even saying the line, like, he's so good at just selling it through just mannerisms, body language, and just his face. Like, he does such a good job. It's amazing.
Well, and it's so interesting watching this again, just seeing how, like, in, A New Hope, Han Solo's cool. He's the epitome of cool. He's like the cool roguish type. And then suddenly Han is like, Han who? He got Lando.
Well,
and you generally feel jealous for Han Solo when, Lando appears and he's like, oh, hello. And you're like, oh, shit.
Well, because Han's not suave.
No.
No.
And compared to everyone else, if you have to put all the suave people in the world together, 1980 Billy D. Williams is the most suave.
He's very suave.
Like, holy fuck, he could talk me out of my pants in about 3 seconds.
Dude. Like, if you took him from Empire and, like, the uncle in Spider-Verse, and you both had one of them go, hey, at you, Lando would win.
Sploosh.
Yeah. There's just a whole shot web all over the wall right there.
Hey.
I think my honest to God response would just be
Your pants would just fall off.
It'd be tee and then a pitter patter of me running away, terrified.
It's too strong of a hey.
Too many emotions.
He died by hay.
Oh my God. So if we've talked to pretty much everybody in this movie, with the exception of the big bad, we gotta talk a little bit of Darth.
Oh, but Darth in this movie is great. Because I freaking love the conflict. I mean, it's the first time you get to see... Hindsight, I guess, is with it. Where after seeing Jedi, you see Darth Vader and the cracks where it can be redeemed. Because especially the moment when he's talking to the Emperor, and the Emperor's like, we can't let him be a Jedi. We need to get rid of him. And he's like, well, what if we got him on our side? It's the whole deflection of,
a powerful ally.
I don't want to kill my kid.
Yeah.
And that's what he's saying right there.
Yep.
And so there's a hesitation. It's probably one of the few times that Darth Vader was saying essentially no to the Emperor, and for some reason the Emperor didn't catch on to it.
Well, it's one of those weird things if you go, like, clearly this was not in the idea when they wrote the movie, but if you go into the books, into the lore, which Chewie has way more than I have, but I have for this one thing, because I'm obsessed with this trilogy it's the Darth Bane trilogy. If you haven't read it, it's fucking amazing. You absolutely should. Written by Drew Carfisian, the guy who wrote Mass Effect. If you need any other reason to read it, just for that alone, read this fucking trilogy. It's still canon. He snuck in just barely because of the Clone Wars.
Little cartoon moment.
But still, it's canon. Read it. It's awesome. But anyhow, the rule of 2, if you don't know, if you're a Star Wars fan and just haven't clued into it, I'll catch you up really, really fast. There's only 2 Sith. Only. Ever. In the galaxy. 2. Because if there's more than 2, they get too greedy and they don't know what they're doing, and they just feel the best way to control power as a Sith is have a master and an apprentice. So by Vader saying if he could be turned, he'd be a powerful ally, and the Emperor saying okay, the Emperor immediately is knowing either I'm dead or Vader's dead.
Yeah.
And that is the job of the mentor, to know that sooner or later your successor will kill you, because that is the job of the mentor to kill of the mentee to kill the mentor. Or you get a new apprentice.
Yeah.
That's just the way it works. That is the way of the Sith. And if you don't know that, clearly that wasn't written at this point, that's fine. But it still works so well having that backstory into this scene of as soon as the Emperor says, yes. That's not the line, but whatever. There's just so much weight in that moment, and I just love it. I eat it up so happily. It's so good.
Well, and
that's-
it's
I
interesting
always wonder
watching
about
like
that,
the
though.
shift in Vader. It's interesting to see that from A New Hope to here, because you sort of take the side of the doofuses around the table being like, oh, your ancient religions and hokiness, and oh, you choke me. Okay, so you're a little scary. And here there's tragedy to it, and he's so much more in Empire.
Well,
And it
Because
really
he's more unhinged, like
he's
I
off
said.
the leash. Tarkin's gone.
Well, it's not just that Tarkin's gone. It's where like there's more at stake for Vader here.
That's true, but he still had to listen to Tarkin. Tarkin's not there anymore.
Yeah.
He is in charge now. Tarkin didn't kill every admiral who did something wrong. Vader kills you. Don't fuck up with Vader in charge. But you were asking a question about the rule of two.
Because I know that Calrissian made that rule with them.
He didn't make the rule. He explained the rule.
He explained the rule, but it just doesn't quite track with the Emperor, because he had Dooku, and he had, I can't remember any of his freaking names now. Yeah, Dooku and Maul. And you say Dooku came after Maul.
He did.
But I really felt like they were kind of being groomed at the same time.
That's true, but also...
And you also have the woman, I forgot her name now. She was in the cartoon series.
Oh, I don't remember. I didn't watch a lot of the cartoons.
well, it's like a courting period. You know, like, well, you're not going to be an apprentice just yet because the spot is full. So put yourself on this list and we'll talk.
Which, to be fair...
Ventress?
That sounds right. But Darth Bane does that quite often. In every book, he starts finding a new apprentice in case the one he has fails.
Oh.
You're always ready to die as a Sith. Like, seriously, read those books.
So the Sith are
They're
just
so
a
good.
bunch of like, monogamy.
Yeah.
No, but well, I got a side piece.
It's monogamish.
Monogamish.
Monogamish. Monogamish.
The Sith.
Oh boy. But beyond all of that we're talking about, seriously, Vader in this movie, he just fucking crushes it. Like, how did I forget the actor's name?
I never remember.
Prowse,
either.
David Prowse.
Thank you, David
Blame,
Prowse.
blame George on that. Never really can come around.
I blame George for a lot of things, both good and bad. But David Prowse, just his body language throughout this entire thing, you see the raised stakes, you see the conflict, like you see all of it, and he just does such a good job with it. And David Prowse, really, as we're going through these movies again and really diving into them, which I'm really enjoying, I'm just loving David Prowse more and more every time I watch
That's why
it.
I love the first leave me alone, Dad moment with Vader looking out to the ship and then sees the ship fly away, and then he turns down, looks back. Now he's really gone.
Yep.
Looks down again, and then he just walks away like. Ugh.
And
He's so upset. He doesn't even kill anybody.
that one admiral had to be like, fuck, I've been promoted so many times recently because this job keeps dying.
Oh, he's so upset. He forgot to kill me.
I'm putting in my 2 weeks.
Yeah. The Yakuza has less of a turnaround.
Got holidays coming up.
I gotta go see my kid. He's learning to walk. we're gonna go open up.
Oh, you have a son? I had a son once. And then he went into hyperspace.
I had a son once. You reminded me of that. Oh God! Oh man. All right, I think that's pretty much everything, right? We kind of hit it all. We didn't really talk any Leia. That's a horrible
Talked
travesty.
about Leia.
A little bit. We didn't really say much of her arc.
We talked about her in relation to like the lighting and the set and the
in
colors.
relation to everybody.
And her being in charge and having her own.
But we didn't talk at all
agency.
about her actually not giving in, but admitting to herself how she feels about Han. Like, that's huge.
Well, she's trying to be all career driven.
Yeah.
As you like to say.
But it's the thing where, like, we talked about it when we started watching the movie. I love from the frame one, Han's like, you like me, I like you, why are we not doing this? I have a ship right there.
Because we have a war going on, Han.
But exactly, and she's just refusing to let herself feel those emotions, and I totally get it, and she's 100% in the right, and Han's being a fucking asshole. I'm right there with her.
Han's being emotional.
Yeah, Han's being emotional, she's being rational. Like, it's just not working in that eventually, if you especially read the books. courtship of Princess Leia, holy shit, does that really play a factor?
Han is super emotional.
He's super emotional. He is full-blown caveman emotional.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Don't climb. But that's the thing. Is like I love in this movie their relationship together, and especially because it doesn't do things that they would absolutely do nowadays. It would drive me nuts. Of like when they finally both admit to themselves or really admit to each other, this is how we feel. It just works. There's no like, oh, we shouldn't be together. Oh, this wouldn't work because of this, that.
Well, they don't even get time to talk about it.
No, but it's just it fits.
Yeah.
Just right out of the gate. So when they're in the Cloud City, when he goes into the room and sees her, he kisses her on the forehead. Like, they're already in it. Like, just right out of the go. Like, as soon as they let the fucking guard down, everything's fine.
Well, yeah.
And I think I don't think
Yeah, but that's
I don't
awesome.
think I don't think the iconic line "I love you, I know" works without either of them, and especially her. I think she does such a great job and has such great chemistry with Harrison Ford. It's like she's doing all the lifting here.
Oh, well, I can't say all the lifting. Like, they really bring each other up.
Yeah.
They play
Yeah.
It's the same thing with all three of them. Like, those three actors some of their
They're
best
perfect
performances.
casting.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's what the Harry Potter trilogy wishes they have. And or the trio wish they have. And I think they were great together. Don't get me wrong. They're great. But it's not these three.
But there's just every time I watch this movie, and it gets to where they finally admit how they feel, and those moments, I hold my breath still, even having seen this dozens upon dozens of times. You know,
No, from pretty much the moment they show up in the dining room with Vader, it's one of my favorite movies of all time. If not my favorite movie of all time. It just can't beat Terminator 2, because Terminator 2 is Terminator 2. I'm not bitter about not seeing Dark Fate at all last night. Fuck you, Burbank AMC.
More so, fuck you, lack of attendance, because you have to worry about it leaving theaters.
Yeah. I'm just so grumpy.
But
It's
yeah.
fine. It's
Yeah.
fine. It's fine. I'm over it. Clearly. Anyhow, I think that's everything, though, right? We've kind of hit it all.
Most of it.
Talked about how the amazing puppets were. We didn't talk about the score. Has my favorite Star Wars song in it outside of Duel of Fates. It's from, if you remember, Shadow of the Empire, the N64 game, when you're on the train when you're going to fight IG-88 and you have to jump over the bridge at the... I remember jumping every time and using the score to know when to jump because it was just such a good fucking song. And that's the other thing, is this movie leads in perfectly to Shadows of the Empire, the next book video game comic. That was really good. You should go read the book
really
video game
good.
comic. It was great.
yeah, no, I remember reading the book and I was just like, oh wow, this is so awesome.
And then you play the game, it's like, oh wow, this is so clunky.
I hope games come further than this
And
someday.
I'm always like, I really love Prince Zizor. I don't know if I'm saying that right.
Probably not.
Oh man, I've spent days trying to figure that one out as a kid.
Oh man. Okay.
Exizor, Sheezer,
I never
Shazire.
know how to say words when they start with X.
Cards on the table. Called him Prince Scissor my whole life.
I now prefer that.
Yeah, I'm gonna stick with Prince Scissor because it works. And it makes me think of the Scissor Sisters. I think that's it. We've done it. We've.
Well,
Empire
I
Strikes
mean, we
Back.
can give a slight mention to Boba Fett.
Do we have to?
Like-
I mean, don't get me wrong. Before you blow up and shoot your
That was
car
it.
stereo, Boba Fett's barely in this movie. Awesome character design. Great character design in the next one too. Sure, he doesn't get great into the books and the comics and the video games and all that
Yeah.
stuff. That's why
It's
we
the
love him.
subtlety. It's
Yeah.
a character design. It's what gets you going.
Amazing character
Yeah.
design. Although I agree with Chewie on this one. Still feels like a woman. Every time he walks into the scene, I'm like, I
It's
feel
just
like there's a woman in that
kind of
armor.
a female vibe to him.
Yeah.
But I know it's a dude.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
He was there.
He could have been, she could have been, whatever, the first Metroid situation.
Yeah, it could have been Captain Phantasm before
Yeah.
Captain Phantasm.
When did the Metroid
Well,
thing
it does
come out?
bring up an interesting trend that these movies did, where we really, as fans, fixated on very minor characters who end up not playing too much in the main movies themselves.
Like
And it's
the
a
guy
it's
with
a
the
trend that's
ice
happened
cream
since Empire.
maker.
Yeah, the ice cream guy.
Yeah.
Or the boom operator from the first one. We get really obsessed with the most obscure shit.
Well, and it's just so interesting that this trilogy, like, really grounded that habit in for even me. I admit to succumbing to this sort of thing, like, oh, Boba Fett looks cool. Follow IG-88 looks cool. Like like all those creatures, these side things. This movie really brought that to the forefront, more so even than the cantina scene in the
Yeah.
first movie.
one of my all-time favorite characters is Brick Frog. That wouldn't be a thing if it wasn't for Star Wars. Brick Frog is a nothing character for Venture Brothers, but I love the shit out of it.
Brick Frog.
Brick Frog.
Brick Frog.
And a frog throwing a brick at us. God, that's a good show. I can't wait to get back to it in a few weeks. But yeah, I think we've done it all. We've done it all? We've done it all.
Done it all.
Favorite quotes.
Impressive. Most impressive.
That's a solid one. I always kind of go back and forth on what my favorite line from this movie is.
It's hard.
There's
really so
is,
many lines.
There's just so many fucking lines. And you have like the epitome lines of like some of the best lines in movie history, along with some of the best shots and choreography and everything ever. And then you just have like little lines that just kind of always crack me up. But my favorite line I have to take from my favorite part of the movie, that's again kind of what we talked about, like just totally random. And my favorite line is, "Ah!" And it's not even an audible line, but it comes when they're in the asteroid field and they're getting ready to talk to Vader, and all three of the holograms are up. And right before they get to that scene, you see one of the star cruisers get hit by an asteroid, and the three of them are there, and one of the three just goes, "Ah!" and disappears. And it has always just killed me. It's my favorite thing in the world. The line isn't even technically there, but he does say it. You can see him yell, and that's my favorite, hands down. So good.
For me, it's a line that has stuck with me more and more as I've rewatched this, and it's where Yoda's talking to Luke, and he mentions his father was like a great warrior, and Yoda's just, "Oh, wars not make one great," and as a kid, just like, "Oh yeah, that's a funny way to deliver that line," but like that is such a profound thing in this series of movies called Star Wars.
Yeah,
and how like not many of the movies like have really played on that until fairly later. Like all the like we've been kind of digging at Last Jedi a little bit, but that pays off some of that. Rogue One pays off some of that. Like it doesn't make one great. War is not great, and I thought I've really keyed to that line these days.
That's a good one. It's a very good one.
Yeah.
I mean, if I had to go for my most quoted line that I actually use in real life all the time, it has to be, "This deal's getting worse all the time."
I know for most people, do or do not, there is no try is the most famous, but I used to love that when I was younger. And as I got older, I'm like, okay, Yoda.
Yeah, do or do not, there is no try.
That's not fair.
Then explain the phrase, A is for effort.
I gotta try sometimes. You're really giving me a failure complex, and this is not helping anyone.
Yeah. No, I mean, we can go for days on the actual great quotes from this movie, but I had to pick a favorite. It's...
I just always love the way that Vader says, "Impressive."
It's so good.
Most impressive.
Because he's legitimately impressed.
Oh, it's the first time he has dad pride.
I'm just so proud of my boy.
Number one fan.
So proud of him. Slightly annoyed. Really wish this was over.
Honey,
but so proud of him.
Just do what your daddy wants and get in the carbonite.
Get in the carbonate tank. I'm pretty sure it will work.
You're showing some gumption, my boy.
I just wish Darth Vader talked like that now. You're showing gumption, my boy.
No, get in the carbonite.
Oh, boy. So, for a review system for this one, I'm going to get a little heady this time, but I'm going to enjoy it. What would you freeze in carbonite as you review for the movie? So, encased forever, could only be melted by one thing, probably in front of Jabba the Hutt. It's the only time we ever see it frozen.
A dodo.
You have to keep talking. You can't stop at a dodo.
It is one of the weirdest birds to have ever existed. And it is such a moment of, like, rarity. Because there's no, like, examples of it left. Everyone always talks about it, be like, yeah, dead like the dodos. Like, it's such this huge special thing. And if you were the one person that had a dodo, like, it would be insane. I got one. And it's still alive, but it's just for me. So I'm going to put it in carbonate. I'm going to hang it on my wall, and no one else gets to have this dodo. That would be freaking special.
I like
and
that.
every scientist would be knocking on your door and be like, can I see the dodo? No.
No, it's my dodo.
No.
Misha, woo-cha, wah-cha, do-do.
No,
do,
do.
Things. Like, I would look at illustrations of dodos and be like, I want to meet a dodo.
You can't. They're dead.
They're dead. They're like one of the first things that we massively put extinct.
All right, I'm gonna go a little bit of a different direction, but I'm gonna go super Star Wars nerdy on this one, and it's not entirely how I feel. We actually watched the Blu-ray version because I think the restoration's really pretty, and I just kind of deal with some of the changes. But I would go back and take the first VHS copy with that poster box, just that beautiful, pristine, unaltered Empire Strikes Back, and I would encase it just to know that it's somewhere. You know what? I don't take the VHS. I'm going back to the original print. I want to take a 35mm print of this movie that ran in theaters, show it once, give it to me. I'm putting it in carbonite so that I just know that it's okay. No one's fucked with it, and that it's just somewhere. I don't even need to watch it. I just need to know that it's there. Sorry about the VHS part. That was just wrong. Definitely go for the 30mm print. What the fuck was I thinking?
No, you want it in every form.
Every 4. No, I'll stop. John, what about you?
Well, I would find if I have an enemy out there, I would find them and put them in the carbonite as just continuing the tradition of putting my enemies in carbonite.
Well, there you go.
Be like, Empire taught me this, and it's a good tradition to pass on.
So for the sake of After the Hype, Anthony Howard is going in the carbonite. And then while
that should be the next section.
Still wet, just assuming it works like cement, we can carve in fuck Tony.
Oh man, we should have gone with like, who would we put in carbonite?
I'm just so happy
as a podcast, and I think we just said that, right?
It's been a while.
It's been a long time since a good fuck Tony, but fuck Tony. He doesn't go by Tony anymore. He goes by Anthony. That's why I had to start with Anthony Howard. Fucking Tony.
Of course he would.
Sounds like typical Tony.
Of course he would be Anthony now.
All right, I like it.
Sorry, I'm going down the dodo Wikipedia now.
Oh boy.
The last accepted sighting of a dodo was in 1662.
That was a long time ago.
It was.
That was well before Empire Strikes Back. Although Empire Strikes Back was a long time ago,
Oh,
so
yeah.
who knows?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Maybe someone actually did put the dodo in carbonite, and we just haven't found them yet.
It's possible.
They're waiting to take over the world.
It's just Jabba the Hutt. All right, so we've done it.
That's gonna be the next episode, right? We're all just gonna be talking like Jabba the whole time.
I totally.
Welcome to After the Hypata.
I'm just gonna look up how to speak Hutt. After or just do it, or just all three of us have to perfect a great Salacious Crumb laugh, just so we can get it perfect. Yeah, we have to do better than that. I can't.
Oh
do
yeah,
it.
no.
I'll just blow my throat out. I'll just I'll get it on my phone so I can just cue it up whenever we want it. It's gonna be great.
Get it on the soundboard, yeah.
So plugs. Next week is Return of the Jedi. So excited to talk Return of the Jedi. Great movie. I don't want to say anything else. I'm very excited to talk about it. The week after that, After the Hype, episode 300. Episode 300. That makes sense in a way. I'm really excited to do that as well. And then we're jumping into the prequel trilogy, where things get a little rocky, but I think we'll be more positive on them.
Do they get rocky or do they get coarse?
And dry and everywhere.
Yeah.
I hate sand.
The products were everywhere.
Oh, boy.
There was even a lollipop, which was in the tongue inside of a Jar Jar head that you would push out so that your child could suck on the tongue of Jar Jar. And it was freaking weird.
So 3 weeks for that. Moving past that, in the ATH Network website, athpod.com, we have articles every Monday. Is it Tuesday now for Matt, or is it still Friday?
Yeah, we're switching over to Tuesdays. Just
Tuesdays.
Bringing all the goodness to the beginning of the week for you.
Perfect. Then we have Everything But Venture Bros still coming out every week. Venture Bros will start up again in December because I only have time for one podcast right now. And since I decided to do this very timed event of get these 7 movies out before Rise of the Skywalker, I have to do this one instead of Venture Bros. To all my bros out there, I'll be back as soon as I can. Fuck, I had to reference
Later,
Terminator.
bros.
Again! I'm so mad about not seeing Terminator. I'm fine. So
It's
fun.
only the fate we make, honey.
It's the fate you make along the way, right?
It's okay. I'll be fine. I'll be fine.
Go down the long, lonely
over it.
highway.
I'm over it. John, anything to plug?
Demon Days every week. We're trucking along with that and having a great time playing some D&D 5th edition.
What? Chewie, anything to plug?
Superstore, Thursday nights. We just got picked up for 4 more episodes, which means more money for us. And entertainment for you.
Yeah. One of my coworkers had the best response, like, "Oh, I'm so happy that there's more episodes." I mean, I'm happy for your wife to get more work, but I'm definitely happier there's more episodes. Yeah. It is a good show.
Win-win.
That's how you know they care.
Financial security and entertainment for all.
And again, if I didn't hit it hard enough earlier, even though it has absolutely nothing to do with our show, nothing to do with anything, be sure to check out the Darth Bane trilogy. Please read them. They're so good. You do yourself a huge favor.
And just read other Carfesian.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of his to read.
Am I saying his name right? I always feel like I'm eating his name, essentially.
Carfesian. Yeah. And then one final absolute plug at the very last minute of this thing. Head on over to the Front Row. They just had episode 500. Big congratulations to the Front Row Network. We started before them, and they're 200 episodes past us. They are fucking machines over there. Literally, they are fucking their machines.
Stop it.
Yeah,
Stop
guys,
it, Front Row.
Oh my God.
Take a nap.
Well,
Take a nap.
the
Cuddle
amount
for a little
of
bit.
lube. I mean, metal is not forgiving.
I mean, just give it a break, guys.
They are more family friendly than us.
What do you mean? We just talked about them banging machines and running out of lube. How could they be more family friendly than us? Joking aside,
I don't believe it.
Seriously, big congratulations, guys. I know I'm already on your episode saying the same thing, but huge congratulations. A big accomplishment. Very proud of all you guys. Looking forward to a crossover again at some point. That's everything from us here, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Bye.
Impressive.